Okay, so position born. The rest of these parameters are pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and we'll remove these. We're holding Alt and right-clicking these operators to get rid of them. The next one we want to take a look at is much simpler than born. Position born. It's just the born operator. And born basically just brings particles into existence. It says create a bunch of these particles, however many. And you have these different creation methods. We'll talk about those in a second. And it will also assign a lifespan to those particles, tell them how long they're going to live with variation, and just a random seed. So it's extremely simple. And if we right-click on the born operator out here and say visible all, you can see all of his inputs and outputs. So not too many, especially if you compare them to like position born. We'll resize that and say visible all. We get quite a few more options available. And we're going to take a look in a little bit about how some of these generators can play together to born particles from other particles. But anyway, let's take a quick look at born because it's very useful. Right now we're not seeing the particles out here. That's because our master dynamic is still set to display none. We'll go ahead and switch that to, let's do dots. So you can see this dot appear down here at the origin. There's actually, if we say pistol shot's going to born this many particles at once. And it will actually only born them once unless you say per call. And we'll take a look at that in a second. But basically we've got 176 particles here, and they have no speed assigned, no size, no direction, and no position. They are basically just existing. Also notice that up here in the title bar of TP we can see that the total number of particles is 176. Corresponds directly with our pistol shot value. If we want to go ahead and actually see what those particles are doing or give them something to do, we'll go ahead and create a standard operator, velocity. And we're going to use this velocity to affect those particles. And we'll go ahead and scrub now. And we can see that it takes off up. Again, it still just looks like one particle. That's because the speed has no variation. Now it kind of looks like a straight line until you zoom in and you can see those. But then we'll go ahead and affect the variation, and now we see them all fan out. So that's kind of good maybe for a small explosion or something, just as a starter. Okay, but let's go ahead and talk a little bit. We'll leave that velocity assigned. We want to talk for a quick sec about these different creation methods. Count is going to create this maximum number of particles into existence at any one time. So it will never have more than 124 particles in the system. Because of their lifespan and when they die, some of them might overlap, and so you might see a count that's a little bit higher than 24, but they're about to die. So count will determine the maximum number of particles that can exist at any one time. The next method is particles per second. And of course this is based on your max time configuration. We're set to NTSC, so 30 frames. Every 30 frames emit one particle. It's not a very fast rate. It takes a little while, as you can see. So maybe we want like 300. So 300 particles per second are going to be born. And the next method that we have is pistol shot, which we just talked about, borning this many particles all at once. Now let's change some of this. Bang, okay. Now pistol shot also has another option on it called per call. And per call operates kind of in conjunction with the on input. If the on input is not connected to anything, basically per call will create this many particles per frame or per time step. So every frame I scrub here, it's going to create another 311 particles. We'll go ahead and drop that down a little bit. We don't quite want that many. So 10 per frame roughly. And as you can see, as we get to frame 20 here, it says we have 210. Well, that's also because we born 10 at frame 0.